Hi, everybody. My name's Jas, and I'm the founder of A Mindful Message. Today, we have a conversation with a counsellor, someone that I've known for a few years, and his name is Roy. So, Roy, would you like to introduce yourself and talk to us a little bit about what you do? And yeah, have a bit of a conversation.
Okay, so I'm the founder and CEO. He took me out with the CEO.
Like it, sauce.
Drag, drag, Dragonfly Counseling and Wellbeing. So I formed Dragonfly specifically to tackle stigma associated with mental health, specifically in the Black and Brown community, and also with men. Um, one of the things about stigma is that we're told what we're being stigmatized about. A lot of men are being told that, oh, we don't talk and we don't have any emotions. We're going, really? Because I never stop talking. And if I get into a group of men, we never stop talking.
Mhm.
So the type of psychotherapy I do is family focused. But when I say family focused, I want to change the definition of family. Not
Okay.
me personally, but family is choose to spend time with. It's not necessarily always blood. It's the
100.
people that you want in your life and those people who want you in their life. So if you look at it that way, it could be anybody. Anybody you feel comfortable with is family.
Yeah.
And when I start talking about the sort of therapy I do, it's about communicating with those people. It might be colleagues, might be friends, and it might be actually your own blood family. But whatever it is, family is who you choose to be with. Home's where you hang your hat.
That's true. And why did you choose to go into family psychotherapy, or why did you even choose to do a counselling course?
Oh, my counseling course was going to be an extension of all the things I've done. So I've been working with children, young people, and families for it's my 42nd year.
Wow.
So I started when I was 3, obviously, no wrinkle.
Black don't crack.
So I I did my first professional qualification when I was 17 as a physical recreation trainer and carried on from there. So when I got to 2015, about 2015, I thought I'll do counseling. Now, as a youth worker, I'd been offered counseling numerous times. It was, oh, you should try counseling, you should try counseling. And I was going, no, God, I don't want to give up a Tuesday. I don't want to give up a Wednesday afternoon. But I was thinking if I had started counseling when it was first offered to me, I'd have been doing this for like ever.
Mhm.
It's probably a good time to do it because all the things that I fitted in prior to this now is it's encapsulated.
And how, like, for example, how do you consult with clients? Like, for when you're doing family psychotherapy, is it a group setting? Is it one-on-one?
It's normally one on one, but it's designed for you to take back into your setting. So most people will come to me because what they're finding they're not fitting, and especially teenagers around 14, 17 years of age, and then those men and women who are 21, 25 who think they're supposed to have got it right.
Mhm.
Um, for teenagers, the way I explain it is there's a template for being a mom. You just look around and see what other moms do. So they go to us, they put the kids in the buggy, they rush around and they look stressed. For dads, look what other dads do. So you take the kids to the park, you use some bad language, you can sit in the corner, have a cigarette. That's dad mode. But there's no template for being a teenager. So I look to the left and I look at him, I think, oh, he's doing it right. But he's also looking to the left.
Mhm.
And we all look around and we find that none of us are getting it right. So
Mhm.
it's sort of like, as teenagers, put our head down and just follow the crowd.
Mhm.
And while teenage brain is saying that fitting in is where you're supposed to go, it's really difficult for teenagers because they've got to fit in with mom, fit in with dad, fit in with friends, fit in with school. And they tend to lose their own identity or their own sense of purpose.
So what I'm kind of sensing from you, because I know that you've had a very long history in like primary health, like primary schools and secondary schools and stuff,
Mhm.
that you've kind of extensively worked with that kind of age group. Are you noticing a shift in, are they accessing more of mental health or no?
It's easier for them because it's pushed towards them in school. So they're more open to talking about it, but still only open to accessing it as a group. Every
Mhm.
time you get a child or a young person in your counseling, my very first question to them is, I guess you don't want to be here. And they put their head down to no, because they still don't get what mental health is. If you start talking about it as mental health, they say, I still don't want to admit that I've got mental health issues.
Mhm.
When you say to them, is it, how do you feel that you're fitting in with your group? Do you feel comfortable in communicating? Do you feel comfortable with some of the choices you've been allowed to make or being pushed into making? If you explain it to them in a different way, it's easier for them to say, well, I'm good at this, but I struggle in here. I'm good at that, but I have some difficulties with this. So it's a lot of it is about the language that we as adults use and what we are saying to them. Because one of the first things I tell them that counselling is one of the very few areas where they can't be forced into. So you can get them in a room, dad can march you up to the room, and teachers can make you go. But actually sitting in a room and engaging is their first encounter with their full autonomy.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Like you mentioned there, you said a lot of there's overcoming a lot of barriers. So even that communication and language barriers with whoever the client may be. Um, have you ever faced any cultural or language barriers yourself, either personally or professionally?
Yes. So as I was saying earlier, it took me this long to realize that the teachers that I had as a teenager came from the generation, not necessarily them, but their parents were the people that would have put up signs in their houses saying no blacks, no Irish, no dogs.
Hmm.
So there was never any incentive for them to see that I did well. They tolerated us. Black and brown people in schools were tolerated. You know, I'm 8 years old, shiny, Vaseline up to the nine, you know, just innocent. And you look at what I could have done to those teachers and those adults, and none. But I was in that generation of kids where if you were black or brown, you were put into special classes, and if you had an attitude, or if you didn't access the curriculum so easy. So, because don't forget, Asians coming to this country had really big difficulties with language and communicating back. So,
Mm.
if you were told you were stupid, it wasn't a case of getting one-to-one intervention that you get now.
Yeah.
What you would get is, look, let's just put them, and black and brown kids were always referred to as them,
Hmm.
for a room for special needs. So, which meant that you weren't accessing the high quality education.
100%. And I think bridging the gap between that, so even like people that being able to access counter, if they had that language barrier, you're placing them on an even playing field then.
Exactly.
Whereas when somebody comes into the UK and is suffering with whatever issue they're suffering from, and they're unable to communicate with an individual or a practitioner who's able to hold them in a safe space, a psychologically safe space, and able to facilitate their feelings and thoughts a lot better. Whereas it's not in place at the moment. So how does that person then even have a fighting chance of
Exactly.
healing?
And don't forget now, I'm talking about my generation. My generation now, we're in our 50s and 60s. So our kids are the ones who are in their 30s going into the workplace, but they're going into the workplace with the messages that we've given them. So when we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about generational trauma, I'm not saying that my children are traumatized, but they're definitely taking the concerns that I had, so, and the caution. So when I say be careful of this, I might not be giving them the full sentence, but they're still, being very cautious in the things that they're doing. And when my daughters and my sons are saying, right, I'm going for promotion, in my mind, I'm already knowing that you're not getting it. I'm preparing the speech for when they come home in the evening and say, but I had the qualifications, I've done the work, I've got the degree. Why did so I'm getting, without saying that it's a racist system or it's systemically geared against you. I'm because I don't want to put them into that mindset where
You're just going to get everything. You're trying to
Exactly.
prepare them for the worst, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
So when they come home, I'm already saying, well, you know what? Let's try back doing this. But now my children's generation are the ones saying, we're not going to work for these people. We're going to start up our own companies. We're going to do this. And so my grandchildren who are now in their teens, they're already knowing they're not going to go to sit through an interview where they're going to be humiliated and embarrassed. And they're already preparing themselves, yes, to get the baseline education. So they're going to get the underpinning language. They can, by definition, they will be going to university. They will be getting accessing a high level of education, but not with the intention of going to work for somebody.
100%. I get that. And my final question to you, Roy, is how does a person with a cultural or language barrier take care of themselves, or anybody? How would you say to take care of your mental health if somebody wanted to access some of the resources or support that you have to offer? What would be how would you prep them? Like, for example, would you tell them a little bit about how your consultation runs, or, what advice would you give to that person?
Anybody struggling with their mental health, the first thing I would say is contact us at Dragonfly Counselling. But secondly, is to look at yourself, look at your own confidence. Confidence isn't oh, I hope people like me. Confidence is I'll be fine if they don't. Looking at the things that are good for you personally, and it's also, don't look too far ahead. Don't look about what might happen. What can go wrong. Start preparing yourself for what happens if it goes right.
So change the narrative.
Yeah. So it's about reframing the way you think about yourself. You're the most important in any room. You will always be the most important person there. This is your world. Everybody else just lives in it. So you walk around as if it's your world, and you'll find that energy that you have just bounces off everybody else. So they're looking at you thinking, that person looks like they're having a really, really good time. Let me go and stand next to him. Let me go and align myself to him. Let me go and stand next to her, because she seems to think she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
That instant energy of, this is what I'm going to do. If you want to follow, that's fine. But I'm always going to lead.
100%. And is that what kind of family psychotherapy is? Is it very client-led, or is it very therapist-led?
No, it's a combination of both, but it's a combination of both. But the one thing I'm really, really good at is letting my clients know that the best version of themselves is not only accessible, but it's attainable. It's not about buying this, it's not about spending this, it's about taking a good look at yourself and saying, hang on a second, who said I can't do it? I always say do it because they said you couldn't. And the more you push yourself, and it's not necessarily 1,000 sit-ups, it's just getting up each day saying, I'm going to have a good day, and these are the steps that I'm going to take.
Beautiful. And where, I might as well put it in there, where can they find you? Dragonfly Counselling, give us a bit of your details.
Okay, so I'm online, and I've got a face-to-face space as well. So I'm face-to-face at the Legacy Centre, which used to be the Drum. But online, if you go Dragonfly Counselling Wellbeing, you'll find my website, gorgeous website. I've got a WhatsApp mode on there, so you can text me. Teenagers pretty much don't like to text, but adults as well. So I do specific adult counselling, female counselling, menopause trained. So accessing those females. So
wow, I didn't know that about you.
No, I sat through the training. 44 women looking at me going,
what does he know about them?
Well, and the thing is because I didn't know anything. Well, all these women have partners, sons who needed support.
Yeah.
And in that space where you're having the hot flash or you're feeling comfortable, what happens is the men run out of the room, and what they should do is say, look, how can I help?
Wow. Okay.
So,
might get some brownie points from the female audience today.
Many layers. And one of the things is it's about making females comfortable with speaking about it.
Yeah.
Half of the discomfort comes from the uncomfortableness of not knowing who to share it with. And when I was doing the training, one of the things that came out was females are not even speaking to other females. They're not telling each other what could help or what helped for them in their very close-knit circle. They do, but
Yeah.
then you find that that information is limited.
Yeah.
And if you want to take away the stigma from anything, it's always about opening up and making yourself open to conversations happening.
100%. And if anybody needs to find Roy's details, they'll be on a mindful message directory as well.
There you go.
Listed. Thank you so much today, Roy, for having a conversation.
Excellent.